All right. And so we're going to just sit for a few moments and I'm going to chit chat at you and then we're going to go ahead and start. So I've been thinking this morning or in this week actually about like how we can actually use our practice efficiently and effectively and not just be like, oh yeah, we're going to get strong and we're going to get flexible. We're going to learn to breathe, but as sort of a training ground for life, you know. And it's interesting because I think that a lot of us know that intuitively. That's like one of those things we first learned in our practice is like, oh, I can try to do this crazy thing that's going to open my hamstring and I'll learn to be patient through some struggle in life. Or oh, I can find that I can hold plank and I can learn that I'm stronger than I think. Or, oh, I can find that I can soften and yield in this position and maybe I can do this in this relationship, you know? But like, how often do we actually think about that? Like the idea that our practice, I know, right? Not at all. How often do we think about that as our practice being an opportunity for us to really be like, this is the time that I'm devoting to cultivating this skill? And so the invitation for today is to figure out what skill you would like to use your practice to cultivate. Is it the softness, the ability to open, to surrender a little bit more to whatever may or may not be happening in life? Is it the ability to have a sense of strength and fortitude to persevere and push through something that right now you're like, I'd rather walk away from? Or is it the ability to know that like if you're being stretched in a point and something's happening, can you learn to breathe? Can you relax? Can you figure out what you need to do in order to get through that thing in life? And our practice will just be the experimental ground for that. So to that extent, I've decided to pick a bunch of poses that have a lot of sensation associated with them. So we're going to see how that goes. Sensation. Jenny's laughing because she said sensation means hard. Hopefully it doesn't, but we will find out. So the first thing we're going to do is I want you to just sit up on something that is comfortable for you, and I want you to close your eyes. And we're going to start by first sensing into the body and into the breath and into this moment in time. And the first invitation is really to just pay attention. How do you need to adjust your body so that you feel that you can actually come into this present moment? You know, so some of you might want to wiggle the shoulders or remove any flesh from underneath the sit bones, or maybe take some neck circles or open and close the jaw. But you're going to just give yourself permission for the first few moments to really just start to settle into your body and noticing what's happening right here and right now. And you've got about 2 to 3 more minutes to just continue to allow yourself to come into your body, to come into this moment. And, you know, after you've done your small movement, you might find that you can actually settle into a place of stillness. And to the best of your ability, so we're staying with those 3 things. Is it that you're trying to cultivate a greater sense of softness? Are you trying to cultivate a greater sense of strength? Or are you trying to cultivate a greater sense of perseverance, the ability to be with what is in the challenge of it, knowing that, you know, that's just sort of par for the course. And so once you found yourself in stillness, I want you to consciously turn your awareness to your breath. And it might help to just take an audible exhale through the mouth and then a big breath in. Yep. And you might do that 2 more times, just allowing yourself to make contact with the breath. Oh, and then after the 3rd one, go ahead and lightly close the lips and continue that same sound. So seeing if you can hear that sound as you breathe out with the lips closed. And then after you feel like you've gotten that, so you can still feel that slight constriction at the back of the throat with the lips closed as you exhale. Notice if you can find that slight constriction as you inhale. So you'll hear the breath coming in and you'll hear the breath going out. And then again, you're staying with that idea of, am I cultivating a sense of strength today? Am I cultivating a sense of fortitude, or am I cultivating the ability to soften, to release? And as we go through our practice today, the invitation, as always, is to come back to the breath, come back to this really simple internal perspective that we have at all points in time. And as things go, we'll see how our awareness and connection to the breath goes. So keeping the eyes closed, if you'd like, go ahead and inhale and sweep both arms out and up and overhead. As you exhale, bend your left elbow and grab your left elbow with your right hand, drawing the left hand behind you. Press the left elbow to the left as you pull it into the right. And just see if you can draw your skull straight back, chin parallel-ish to the floor, and take in a deeper breath. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will reach your right arm up, open the right arm out, turn the thumb to the floor, flip the arm behind you, and maybe clasp the hands behind you. And again, we've got 3 more breath cycles here. And wherever you are, you're seeing if you can keep the breath full, if you can keep the breath deep. Those who are going for full Gomukhasana arms, draw that right shoulder blade back with the left elbow a little higher. And then notice if you're tensing around your jaw. And if you chose softness as the word, soften the jaw. If you chose strength as the word, see if you can lengthen up through the spine and push the head back. And if you chose fortitude, see if you can stay connected to your breath. Well, you have to stay connected to your breath anyways, but you know. On your next in-breath, gently release that right hand if you have it. Inhale, reach both arms up and over your head. And then exhale, we'll try the other side. So just bend your right elbow, grab your right elbow with your left hand, push the right elbow to the right, pull it towards the left, and then see if you can just breathe here, drawing the skull straight back, the front ribs down towards the hip, and lifting up through the crown of your head. Option to stay right here for 3 more breath cycles, or you'll reach up through your left arm. The left arm will reach out to the left, thumb will turn down, and you'll bring your hand behind you to maybe clasp the hands behind you. And you're just noticing if you've clasped the hands, the right shoulder blade comes onto the back, left shoulder blade comes onto the back, the right elbow lifts a little bit higher, and you're just pausing and breathing. Awesome. The end of your next exhalation, gently release that left hand. Inhale, sweep both arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, just lower the right hand to the right. Inhale, lift up through the left arm even more, and then baby little side bend towards the right. And I want you to take 5 steady breaths here. So you're rooting through your left hip. You're reaching out through the left arm. You might start to crawl the right arm a little bit further away from your pelvis to deepen the stretch that's happening on the left side body. And as you do this, I want you to see if you can close those front ribs. Yep. And then draw the right shoulder blade forward. Yep. And then continue to reach out through the left hand. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here. You might find that the right fingers might walk even further away from your right pelvis. You might find even more weight into that left hip. Yep. And rotate the rib cage a little bit more towards the front. On your next in-breath, come up through both arms. As you exhale, lower the left hand to the left. Inhale, lift up a little bit higher through the right, and then little side bend over to the left. And then again, we've got 5 breaths here. So you might start with that left hand pretty close to the left hip, pretty light if you'd like, and then you'll start to walk it away from you. And again, we start by closing in the rib cage, drawing the left shoulder blade forward and under, softening the left ear away from the left shoulder. Yeah. And then you just pause and you breathe. May I help? Okay. And so we'll just pause and we'll breathe. And we'll notice that as we reach out through the right hand, we can root down even more through the right hip, and you'll find the space in the intercostals. So it's the muscles on the sides of the ribs. Nice job. On your next in-breath, let's go ahead and reach up through both arms. As you exhale, start to twist towards the right. The right hand comes behind you. The left arm comes to the outside edge of the right knee. Go ahead and inhale, lift up tall, and then exhale, draw the front right ribs back, the left ribs forward. Yep. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. Notice if you can soften any tension around the left shoulder. Yep. And then notice where you want your head. Do you want to dip your right ear towards the right shoulder? Do you want to see how that gets sensation on the right side of the neck? You might turn your chin down towards your right shoulder, but you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And then when you're ready, draw the head back to center. Inhale, come back up through center, both arms high, and then exhale, twist to the other side. So the left arm comes behind you, the right hand to the outside edge of the left knee. And then just again, can you hear your breath? Where do you notice that you can find strength in the body? Maybe it's engaging a left low belly. Or can you find a softness? Maybe it's in the neck. Maybe you drop the left ear towards the left shoulder, the chin towards the left armpit. But how can you find the fortitude to stay with the breath no matter what is or isn't happening in this moment? Nice job. On your next in-breath, let's go ahead and inhale, sweep both arms up and overhead. As you exhale, I want you to make little fists with your hands so the thumbs point, I guess, towards each other, and then start to turn your thumbs behind you. And like we did last week, I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back and see if you can lift your heart. Continue to breathe. Really hug the shoulder blades together on the back as you lift up through the heart. On your next exhale, open the arms just a little wider, squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back, lift the heart, take in a deeper breath. Let go of a deeper breath. You're still hugging the shoulder blades together on the back. Go ahead and lower the arms just a little bit. Again, squeeze the shoulder blades on the back, lift the heart, see if you can breathe. Take 3 more breath cycles just here. Hug the shoulder blades together. And then at the end of your third exhalation, this is going to sound really weird, but I want you to go ahead and inhale and extend out through all of your fingers. Hug your fingers towards each other. Imagine that your pinky finger is a screwdriver, and I want you to reach out through the pinky fingers to spin your palms up, and then reach out through your pinky fingers and spin your palms back behind you and maybe up to the sky if you can. And you'll do about 10 of those. I know, isn't that crazy? And the whole time, may I help? You're hugging the shoulder blades onto the back and you're reaching out underneath your arms through your pinky finger to have that rotation happen so that we can start to get your shoulder blades and shoulder girdles to work with you. And are you breathing? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? And so like this thing is one of those things that dancers really hated because you spend a lot of your time holding your arms out in ala second. And so this is just strengthening the upper back. Awesome. The next time your arms are facing back behind you, pause there, lift up a little higher, lower your arms about 3 inches, squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back. And imagine that for some reason I'm standing behind you and I'm pushing into your hands and you're pushing back into me. Squeeze, 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 push, push, push. Awesome. Take a deep breath in. Next exhale, lower your hands a little bit lower. I know. And then you're going to push into that imaginary wall. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Take another breath in. Awesome sauce. Lower the hands again. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Push into that imaginary wall. Awesome sauce. You got 2 more. Lowering the hands as close as we can get to your bum. Yep. And then finally, let's see if you can draw your hands towards each other, whether they'll almost touch. Hug the elbows towards each other. Squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back. Some of you will choose to stay here and notice that engagement happening on your upper back body. Some of you will interlace the hands together. And then you can notice that once your hands are interlaced, it does take out a lot of that tension. And then you can either drop your head, notice what's happening in the neck if you want to move the head around in any way. But again, we've got 3 choices. Are we going for fortitude? How's the breath? Are we going for strength? How's our ability to just know that we're stronger than whatever's going on? Or are we going for softness, the ability to yield, to let go, to be with? Awesome. Go ahead and come to a state of stillness once you feel complete. And then we're going to transfer onto our hands and knees coming forward. I do encourage you to plant your blocks towards the upper outer corners of your mat. And I do encourage you to pad your knees with a blanket. So Erica, you're going to be very happy for this one. Roberta said sneaky core work, not yet. We're going to do toe squat. So let's go ahead and come forward onto hands and knees. I do encourage the blocks because we're going to do a navicular stretch after, but you'll curl both sets of toes under, start to walk your hands back towards your bum. If this is going to work for you, you're going to stay right there. Otherwise, you're going to start to come tall onto your shins. Curl both sets of toes under and sit as tall as you can. And then I want you to close your eyes. Ordinarily in this shape, I try to distract you with something with your arms, but how can you just be completely present? You know, there are certain aspects of life that we can't distract ourselves from. We just have to commit to being present, and our practice can help us learn that. You know, we can learn that, oh yeah, there's this crap happening on my feet, but I can breathe. There's this stuff happening in my feet, but I can notice how I'm thinking about it. There's this stuff happening in my feet, but I can lift up out of my spine, maybe take some of the weight off of my feet. And how does that strength that's required there allow me to develop this skill, this tool, this ability to be able to do this same thing in other aspects of my life? And so you've got 3 more steady breaths here. And I want you to just notice what you notice. You know, how's the breath? How's the body? How's the mind? How's the heart? At the end of your 3rd exhalation, come forward onto hands and knees. Little slight pitter patter of your toes. And you might take a counter stretch and just observe, how did that feel without having the distraction of me making you do something with your arms? Awesome sauce. And then once you feel complete with that, let's go ahead and come forward. Oh, that's a higher angle, Barbara. I like that. And then we're going to take navicular stretch. So you'll separate your knees slightly wider than your hips. Take your right foot over towards your left foot. Lift the left foot. Put the top of the left foot into the sole of the right foot. And you can start to sit back. Our blocks are here in case if you need the extra support or length. And then you'll notice maybe you lift your left knee up. Maybe you push the left top of the foot lightly into the sole of the right foot. And notice if you can just find a spot, and then if you can breathe. How's the jaw? Yep. How's the breath? And you might slide that left foot close towards the big toe mound of the right foot. And then once you feel that you've gotten that left foot all the way out towards the right big toe, we're going to come forward, release the tops of the feet onto the floor, and we'll try it on the other side. So knees slightly wider than hips. Take your left foot towards your right foot. Lift the right foot, putting the top of the right foot into the sole of the left foot. Again, the blocks are there in case if you need them. And then if you're making faces, is that part of your fortitude? Is that part of your softness? Is that part of your strength? You know, the things that we do in life aren't necessarily bad. Some of our coping mechanisms and our habits are really a strength. Some of them are a way of lightening things, and some of them are our fortitude. And how can we allow ourselves to recall that? And so you're again pushing the right navicular bone into the arch of your left foot and maybe dragging it towards your left big toe. Awesome sauce. And then we'll go ahead and shift our weight forward. Last time, curl both sets of toes under. Again, make sure knees, ankles, and shins touch, and start to press yourself back up for your 2nd navicular stretch. Sorry, toe squat, thank you. And then this time we are actually going to distract ourselves just a little bit with some wrist circles, because we're going to start to put weight in our hands. So I want you to go both ways and just notice. Sometimes having more than one thing to do actually is a blessing, and sometimes it's not. But how's your breath? How's that connection that you have with your sense of self and how you're doing? All right, let's go ahead and come forward, hands and knees, pitter patter the tops of your feet. Take that counter stretch if you'd like. And then we'll go ahead and make our way to a downward facing dog. So you take your time. Awesome. And so we're going to take our time to get to downward facing dog. And so if you're there, you're there. If you're on your way there, you're on your way there. And what I'd like us to focus on for our first down dog, I actually should have left it there. I'm sorry, Jenny. What we're going to focus on our first down dog is I want everyone to shift your weight forward just a little bit. And I want you to look at your hands. Spread wide through your hands. Push down through your L shape, so the index finger and the thumb. And then notice if you can push the tips of your fingers into the floor. Lift up through your armpits and then push your shoulders forward and down as you lift your hips up and back. Keep that strength and that integration in your shoulder girdle. And I want you to imagine that I just bumped your hips to the left a little bit. And then I bumped your hips to the right a little bit. And you'll go back and forth and you'll just notice what that feels like. Keeping the shoulders stable, but your hips are moving a little to the right and they're moving a little to the left. And you're noticing what's happening to your breath. Now, to make stuff a little bit more interesting, the next time your hips go to the left, stay there, bend just your right knee. Just the right knee. Hips to the left, bend just the right knee. Are you breathing? Oh, yep. Aha, we found faces. Let's breathe. Let's breathe. And then we'll go ahead and straighten just the right leg. Bump the hips to the right, bend just the left knee. Hello, calves. Keep pressing down through both hands. The shoulder girdle stays integrated. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and straighten that leg. Inhale, come back through center. On your next exhale, scoop the belly, and inhale, roll your spine forward to Phalangasana, plank pose. Yay! Okay, so we've got strength as an option. We've got fortitude as an option. We've got softening as an option. We're gonna stay here for 5 steady deep breaths, but you're gonna pick which one of those. So if it's strength, you just say I'm stronger than I tell myself. If it's fortitude, you're staying with the wobbles and the shakes and you're like, oh, this is interesting. And if it's softening, you lower your knees to the mat. Neither is better, neither is worse. It's what skill are you trying to cultivate for you, and how can our practice remind us of that? Now we've got about 3 more breath cycles because I really wasn't counting, so I'm sorry. And you're just going to keep breathing, and you're going to keep breathing, and you're going to keep breathing. And after you've taken your 3 exhalations, you will lift your bums up and back, and downward facing dog we go. And once you go back to downward facing dog, see if you can keep all of that shoulder integration that we just had just a few moments ago. Nice job. And then notice the breath. Notice the breath. Notice the breath. Nice work, guys. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Pause here, lift up through that inner right thigh. Scoop your tailbone back to the right heel. Yep. Next, exhale, step that right foot quietly between your hands. Pause here, lower the left knee to the blanket or mat. Bring your hands to the blocks or the floor, wherever you'd like. I want you to push down into your right foot a lot. Pull your right heel back isometrically. Drag your left knee forward isometrically. Notice what that did to your pelvis. Now push straight down to lift the spine straight up. Perfect. Now, once you're here, both hands can go on the center of that right thigh. Keep dragging that right heel back isometrically. Keep pulling that left knee forward isometrically. And then I want you to see if you can lift your left arm forward like a zombie and then all the way up and overhead. And as you come up and overhead, the left ribs keep hugging in. And then we're going to spiral through that back inner left knee. So it's coming up through the hips. Option to stay right here. Option to reach for the block that's on the right side. And then we'll take a little side bend over towards the right. And just as we did before, you're hugging those front ribs in and you're gradually deepening that side bend. So, maybe you're just like hanging out here with the right hand on the knee. Maybe it comes to the floor. Maybe you start to expand your ribs over to the left, but you're pausing. And then we come back to that whole thing. How's the right shoulder? Is it coming forward? Can we draw the ribs back as the rib cage rotates? Yeah, nice job. Okay, next in-breath, let's go ahead and come back up. As you exhale, shift your weight forward, and I do encourage you to put both hands on the blocks. Both hands on the blocks. This is gonna sound weird, but I want you to shift your weight back enough to keep the sole of your right foot completely on the floor. So you might need to slide your right foot forward just a little bit so your left shin is perpendicular. Now, your blocks come as high as you need them to be underneath your shoulders for your spine to be long. And suddenly we find that there's a whole lot of sensation happening on, yep, I got some more faces, happening on the front of that right shin. And so you're gonna breathe. I hope you're breathing. So the right leg is completely straight. Shift your weight back so the right leg is completely straight. The right sole of the foot stays on the floor. So Laura, walk your blocks back underneath your shoulders. Julie, turn your blocks up a tick for me. Yep, so the right sole of the foot is completely on the floor. And then as the right foot stays on the floor, notice what happens if you lift all 5 toes of the right foot up and away from the floor. Pull your right kneecap up. Are you breathing? Right leg straight and strong. Are you breathing? Nice job. Notice what next happens if you peel the whole sole of the right foot up and away from the floor. You might need to slide your right heel away from you even more just to find length, but you're finding length on the back of the leg. The heart and sternum is reaching forward and all 5 toes are actively pulling back. Awesome sauce. Some of you will be like, yes, Jessica, I'm staying right here. Some of you are going to push down into your right heel. You're going to push down into your left knee and you're going to start to externally rotate that whole right thigh. Yep, and we got some more faces to the right. And you're going to keep pulling the toes back. Keep pulling the toes back. Keep pulling the kneecap up. Yep. Some of you will stay right there. Some of you will be like, all right, I'm going along for this ride. You're going to start to take your blocks to the outside edge of your right leg as the right foot externally rotates. And suddenly that's changed the sensation a lot. Yep. And are you breathing? Are you pushing out through the ball of your big toe mound as you flex the foot, drawing that outer right hip back and noticing how that changes the sensation on the back of the leg? Nice job. On your next in breath, bring the foot back to center, walk the blocks back to frame the front foot. Here's our last little weird thing here. Keep that block underneath your left hand, underneath your left shoulder. Bring your right hand to your right butt. And you might actually want to walk your block forward a little bit depending upon your angle, but you're going to start to turn your rib cage to the right again, pushing down through the left. And this is going to create a very crazy sensation in the back of your leg. And I want you to pause and I want you to breathe. Some of you will reach that right arm to the sky for like a variation of a revolved triangle. Some of you will not, but that right foot is super active and you're breathing and you're pushing down through that left hand a lot. On your next exhale, lower the right hand. Bend the front knee, shift your weight forward, plant the palms on your mat, tuck the back toes under, step back to plank pose. 3 breaths, 3 breaths. So when we were there, I'm sure there was a lot of crap going through your mind, through your heart, through your body, through all that stuff. What were you thinking? Was this like, oh, goody, I'm learning fortitude. Oh, goody, I'm learning to release and soften. Oh, goody, I'm learning strength. Or was it like, yeah, get me the heck out of this? I think in life, when these things happen to us, it's like, yeah, get me the heck out of this. Why is this happening? I don't want to be bothered. And how can we remind ourselves that we do it all the time on our practice, on our mat, and yet we can do it in life as well? On your next exhale, go ahead and lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And you'll just take 3 steady breaths here. And if you need to, yeah, there you go. If you need to audibly exhale out through the mouth, sometimes that releases extra heat from the body and is helpful. But you're just going to notice what you notice. How are we talking to ourselves right now? Like, I think most of us are very compassionate when we're with ourselves on the mat, but how can we do that when we're off the mat and in life? All right, let's go ahead and try the other side. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Take a moment to pause here. You just got a full breath cycle. You're lifting up through that inner left thigh, reaching the right heel down. And on your next exhale, step that foot quietly between your hands. Lower the back knee down to the mat and bring your hands to the blocks. Now, just as we did before, I do encourage you to push straight down through that left heel and isometrically drag it back. Push into that right knee and drag it forward. And then with the power of your legs, push down to lift the spine up. Yeah, awesome. Both hands can come to the center of the left thigh. Your right arm can reach forward like a happy little zombie. Really close your ribs back on the right side before you go any further, and then you'll reach the arm up and overhead. And the more you can draw those ribs back as that right knee is active, you'll find a stretch into the psoas. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will take a happy little side bend to the left. Some of you will reach for that block to the left and just take a little side bend. And we've got 5 breaths. And you'll notice as you're bending to the side, can you soften any tension if you chose softness as the word? Can you find more strength in the legs if you chose strength as your word? And can you try fortitude, deepening the breath, expanding the rib cage on the right side if you chose that as your word? And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Nice work, guys. All right, on your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come up through center. As you exhale, let's frame the front foot with both hands, hands to blocks. And again, you're going to shift your butt back, straightening your left leg, keeping the left sole of the foot on the floor so it stays there. If you need to slide your left foot forward to make that happen so the right shin is perpendicular to the floor, you do that. You turn those blocks up as high as you need to keep your spine straight. And then you just pause and you breathe here and you notice what's happening on the top of the foot, keeping the sole of the foot down. And this sounds weird to me, but we had this as a dancer term. I want you to make fat feet. So make your feet as wide and as fat as they can be so you can feel all of the floor as much as possible. And then notice what happens if you lift all 5 toes of that left foot up. How does that change the sensation? Pull your left kneecap up. You might then start to peel the sole of the left foot all the way away from the floor. And you might need to slide the left foot forward just a little bit to make that happen for you. And again, we're pausing and we're breathing, and that left leg is super active. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will spin on the heel to externally rotate that left thigh. And again, are you breathing? Are you able to remain patiently attentive to what's happening here, compassionately attentive to what's happening here? Some of you will stay right there. Some of you will bring your blocks to the outside edge of your left foot. Maybe externally rotate that left foot even more to the left. And your pinky toes are pulling back. All 5 toes are pulling back. So really make sure that left foot is super active. Yep. And how are you breathing? How are you breathing? Nice job, guys. On your next in-breath, we'll go ahead and come back through center, square that foot. You might need to lower the block underneath the right hand. And for me, it feels a little bit better if it's slightly forward to my right shoulder, but not by much. And then your left hand comes to your left hip. I want you to push down through the left heel, push down through the right knee, push down through the right hand, and start to rotate your rib cage to the left. You might stay there happy as a clam. You might reach that left arm up. Why do you say happy as a clam? Clams aren't happy, are they? I don't know. But you're just going to breathe and you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you got 2 more breath cycles here. And you all are doing fantastically great with your strength, with your fortitude, with your softness. Awesome. Go ahead and lower that left hand to the floor. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Plant the sole of the foot. Plant the palm. Straighten the back leg long. And step yourself back to downward facing dog. And you'll just take 3 breaths here. And now I want you to notice how the hamstrings felt. Did you notice earlier a difference between the sides? Do they feel a little bit more even now? Awesome. All right. 2 more breaths. 2 more steady, steady breaths. Nice job. On your next in-breath, raise to the balls of your feet. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float, top of mat. Awesome. Once you find yourself there, pause, separate your feet hip distance apart. If you want that block between your shin bones, by all means do that. And then I'd like you to notice, first of all, where your weight is in your feet. Can you shift it forward so it's even? We spent all that time opening up your hamstring. So here, everyone pull your kneecaps up. Yep. Squeeze that block and make your fat feet again. So we're going to really widen the soles of our feet. Yep, and then we're going to push down through big toes, pinky toes. We're going to hug our outer shins into our block, our inner shins into our block. From there, inhale, slide your hands up your shins, make your spine parallel to the floor. Keep your legs active. As you exhale, scoop the belly. Yep, yeah. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back like we had at the very beginning when you were squeezing them, and your head is reaching out of your neck. Yeah, and you got 2 more breath cycles here. 2 more breath cycles here. How steady is the breath? How full is the breath? How deep is the breath? Nice work, guys. You got your last breath cycle here. At the end of your next exhalation, see if you can keep your spine this long, just bend your knees. Spine this long, just bend your knees. Lower your fingertips to the floor. Spine this long, bend your knees. Great. From there, arms reach forward like little zombies. Lever your spine back. Keep your feet wide and really in contact with the floor. And then you might stay there. You might start to reach your arms up a little bit. But you've got 3 more breath cycles here. And are we finding fortitude right now? Yes, I can handle the sensations of chair pose. Are we finding strength? Yes, I can be in this pose. I can engage my glutes. I can push through my feet. I can squeeze that block. Or are we finding softness? Do I need to let go of tension in my face? Do I need to let my breath be a little softer? On your next inhalation, you'll stand up, you'll reach up, you'll look up. You'll pause. I want you to find 3 breath cycles here and find the alignment of your spine. Sometimes coming out of that, it feels like I have to wiggle a back and forth or front to back, right to left, to find the vertebra falling back into their natural alignment. And then once you feel like you found that, the arms will open out. You'll take a big breath in and a big breath out and just notice. Do you need to wiggle the shoulders? Do you need to open and close the jaw a few times? How can we remind ourselves that our practice is teaching us to deal with life? Yoga is life. It's not just the asana, it's everything else. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, circle, sweep our arms up and overhead. As you exhale, hinge forward at your hips, forward fold Uttanasana. Once you get there, remove your block. Inhale here. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, and step just your left leg long and back. Awesome. Now from here, I am going to encourage you to put your hands on your blocks, but you do whatever the heck you want to. With your hands on your blocks, step your left foot just slightly to the left and slightly forward, just an inch. So not a big one, just an inch. And you're going to spin that whole outer edge of your left foot to the floor. And then I want you to push into your left pinky toe for dear life. Like this is your stake. You're putting in a tent and you're making your stake. Great. From there, pull your outer right hip back a lot. Awesome. Push down through both of your feet and make your belly come away from your thigh a little bit. Make your hands lighter on the blocks. Yep. Next in breath, push down through your feet even more and bring your spine all the way up to vertical. Ha-ha. Nice job, guys. Now, once we found ourselves in Virabhadrasana 1, notice that we're in a much longer stance than we normally are. See if you can lift up through the ribs, if you can draw that outer right hip back, and then tone that inner left thigh, maybe by squeezing your left glute. And then you're going to pause, and you're going to breathe, and you're going to notice what you notice as you push into that back foot. Nice work. On your next in breath, reach up through the arms, push down through the right leg, straighten the right leg long. Awesome sauce. As you exhale, reach forward, out, and down, and fingers come back to those blocks or the floor underneath your shoulders. Nice job, guys. And you might want to walk the blocks in so they're underneath your shoulders. And you're going to pause here. Some of you are going to stay right here, pulling that kneecap up, pressing from your right sit bone down to your right big toe, similar to what we did when we had our back knee on the floor. Some of you will peel just the toes of the right foot up and away from the floor, and you'll notice what that feels like. Some of you will peel the whole sole of your right foot up and away from the floor. And I want you to notice, do you want to lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor to find that straight, flat back? How does that impact the sensation? Or do you want to reach your heart and sternum forward and folding in? The other thing that our practice teaches us is that we can modify things, we can change things, but how often do we allow ourselves to remember that? Great. Some of you are going to stay right here. Some of you are going to roll to the pinky toe edge side of your right foot. The whole right foot is going to externally rotate. Some of you are going to stay right there and just breathe. Some of you are going to bring both of your blocks to the outside edge of your right foot. And I do encourage you to have those blocks up to the highest setting. It just creates space between the hip and the torso. And you're breathing. Oh, yep. And we're making noises, and that's okay. So Jason, lift the foot up and away from the floor so it's active. Yep. And then roll to the knife edge. Awesome. Keep that. And then you'll gently come back through center. You'll plant the sole of the foot on the floor. You'll bend your front knee. You'll plant your palms on the blocks. And I want you to shift your weight forward, lift the back leg parallel-ish to the floor. Parallel-ish to the floor. Yeah. Now, as weird as this sounds, I want everybody to turn their blocks up to the highest setting. I want you to see if you can find space in your left hip. Yep. And then I want you to see if you can find space in your right hip, like there's a balloon under there. And then with that space, lift up through that inner right thigh just a little bit more, press back through the big toe mound. Yep. And then at the end of your next exhale, step that left foot forward to meet the right. You might separate your feet outer hip distance apart. You might grab opposite elbows. You might start to bend your knees one and then the other, creating little figure eights with your hips. Figure hips sounds funny. But you're going to just take a moment to pause and to breathe. And I want you to check in and notice what you're doing right now. Not physically, but like what purpose this is serving for you. Sometimes moving things around, shaking things up allows you to have a bit of reprieve. It allows you to go back and try something again. And how come we remember that we can do that in all aspects of life? All right, we're going to move on. So please go ahead and come to stillness. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart, block or no block. It's totally up to you. We're going to inhale, pull our heart and sternum forward, Ardha Uttanasana. And I want you to pause. You're pulling your kneecaps up. Whether you have that block or not, you're hugging your inner shin bones into the midline. You're hugging your outer shins into the midline. You're noticing that you can then reach your head out of your neck, your shoulders onto your back. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. You got 2 more breath cycles here, and we're just hanging out. How we doing? Hanging out. Letting our feet be wide on the floor. Yep. The end of our next exhale, we're going to see if we can keep our spine this long. You're going to bend your knees, maybe touch your fingers to the floor. See if you can lower your butt a little bit more, and then you'll start to reach your arms forward, lever your spine back. Yep, and you might stay here. You might reach your arms up and overhead, but we're going to pause, and we're going to breathe, then we're going to pause, and we're going to breathe, and we're going to pause, and we're going to breathe, and you just got 2 more breaths here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you're going to stand up, reach up, look up, take a big breath in, adjust the body in whatever way you need to. So any wiggles, any movement in order to allow things to settle back in. It's almost like a snow globe. Let your body be a snow globe. And once you feel complete, the arms open out. You soften the gaze, you close the eyes. Bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your abdomen, and take 3 breaths. What is that thing in life where you need to remind yourself that you are quite capable of meeting the demands at hand? We all have a lot of strength to us. We all have a lot of softness, flexibility, mobility. We all also have that fortitude to make the necessary changes. And how can we just remind ourselves of that? And so you'll take 1 more breath cycle here, breathing into the hand and the heart and the hand and the gut. And then once you feel complete, you'll gently release the hands. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up and overhead. As you exhale, start to hinge forward at your hips. Uttanasana, forward fold. Nice work, guys. If you've got that block, go ahead and remove it. Inhale, spine lifts halfway. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step the opposite leg back. So this time we're going to step our right leg back. Awesome. And then from here, I would encourage you to put your hands on your blocks. And just as we did the last time, step the right foot slightly to the right and forward, spin the foot down. Now pressing into that back foot like crazy, let's go ahead and draw that outer left hip back. And then make your hands light and make your tummy come away from your thighs. And then pushing down through the legs, hugging them together. Inhale, bring the spine up to vertical. Yeah. And then you just got 3 breath cycles here. And we're in a lot longer Virabhadrasana 1 than we might ordinarily be in. And so I want you to notice, how's the breath? What do I need to fortify in my legs, strengthening them to be in this deeper, longer pose? How do I need to soften in my mouth, maybe in my breath, maybe in my rib cage? Awesome sauce. And make sure we're still engaging on that inner right thigh, the back leg. Yep. Next in breath, reach up through the arms, push down through the front leg, straighten the front leg long. And as you exhale, reach forward, out and down, coming down for Prasarda Padottanasana. That's not right. Oh no, that is right. Okay, and then you're going to pause here. Some of you are going to stay right here and keep pressing from your left sit bone down to your left big toe as you hug that outer left hip in. Yep. Some of you will start to peel the left toes up and away from the floor, and you might just hang out there for a little bit. Some of you will peel the whole sole of the foot up and away from the floor. And I do encourage those blocks underneath your shoulders, probably on the highest setting. It's going to be helpful for most of us. And you might just stay there and hang out. Some of you will spin the left thigh forward. So the left pinky toe spins to the left and you're externally rotating through that whole leg and you might be happy as a clam there. Some of you will walk the blocks outside of the left foot and maybe roll more of the whole left pinky toe to the left, but the left foot doesn't collapse. So the arch of the foot doesn't collapse. It's as active as it was when we were in that modified position. And then you'll pause and you'll breathe. You'll pause and you'll breathe. And then you'll gently come back through center. Awesome sauce. You'll bend your front knee. You'll plant your palms on the blocks if they're not there. Start to walk your blocks forward. Start to shift your weight forward. Float that back leg parallel-ish to the floor. And then again, see if you can make your right hip lighter. So that's the lifted leg. Yep. And then see if you can make the left hip lighter. Yep. And then keep pushing back. And this side's much better for most of us. And then we'll reach back. And then on your next exhale, bend the right knee, step it next to the left. Notice if you want to widen your feet wider than your hips, and if you want to move around in any type of way, but you're allowing yourself to just check in. Just check in. Had someone asked me recently if it bothered me when you guys did whatever you wanted to do. I was like, not really. Um, and I thought it was entertaining because how often do we feel that way about things in life? When somebody doesn't do what we want to do, how often does it actually bother us? I know when it comes to my mom, it bothers me quite a bit, and I'm trying to to get over that. How can the practice teach me to be okay with that? You know, awesome sauce. All right, we're gonna add on. Go ahead and release the arms. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend your knees, touch your fingers to the floor, and then inhale, sit Utkatasana, chair pose. We got there a lot faster this time. How does that work? Cool. So you guys are going to stay right here, some of you. Some of you are going to be like, all right, we're going to try this. You're going to shift weight to your right foot and make your left foot a little lighter. Then you'll maybe lift your left foot up, maybe cross your left toes so they touch the floor on the side of the right floor. Maybe you'll hook the foot behind you, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll open the arms out, maybe you'll wrap your right arm on top, your left arm underneath and hug yourself. Maybe you'll take Garudasana arms, but you're just going to notice having that really wide right foot, pressing that right shin into the left shin into the right shin helps a lot. Finding fortitude, finding strength, finding softness. On your next in-breath, you're going to gently unwind, stand up, reach up, look up, planting both feet. And then notice what you need to do to readjust the spine, readjust the body, readjust the mind. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and lower the arms, close the eyes, and take 3 breaths. Try that all again. Any little movements you need to do are a-okay, and just let yourself do that. I think off the mat, we hold ourselves to such rigid expectations that we think others place on us, or we place on ourselves, or we place on others, because of literally we do that. Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and come to stillness. Inhale, bend your knees, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana. Yep. As you exhale, oh wow, that made no sense. I'm sorry. Good job, guys. Exhale, just fold into the shape a little deeper. And then inhale, we'll halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. You'll exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands onto the floor, and then inhale, sit your bums back down for Utkatasana, chair pose. Some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will start to shift your weight over to that left leg, make your right foot lighter. Lift the right leg, cross the right thigh over, maybe touch the toes to the floor. Maybe bring the foot behind you. Some of you will stay there. Some of you will open the arms out. Maybe give yourself a hug with the left arm on top. Maybe take Garudasana arms, but wherever you are, you're just paying attention. Do I need more strength here? Do I need more fortitude here? Do I need more softness? It's very interesting that it's not always what we would think. Sometimes we need strength. Sometimes we need softness. Sometimes we just need the persistence to know that we can deal with the sensations. You've got one more breath cycle here. Yep. And then on your next in-breath, unwind everything, stand up, reach up, look up, wiggle around in any way you need to. And then when you're ready, you'll exhale, lower the arms and just breathe. Just breathe. You might still roll the shoulders if you need. Okay. Once you feel a little complete through that, go ahead and come to stillness. Let's go ahead and turn to face the long edge of our mat. Separate your feet about 3 feet apart. Bring your hands to your hips. Energize your legs. So find the width through the bottoms of your feet. Press down through the pinky toes. Lift the heart up. Pull the kneecaps up. And then exhale, start to hinge forward at your hips. Once you find yourself halfway, you might slide the hands down the thighs to the ankles. You might just lower the hands down to the floor. But we're going to be here for about 4 to 5 steady breaths. So I want you to just notice what you need to do to let this pose really be internalizing for you, meaning it lets you turn inward. Notice here what happens to your breath instinctively, naturally, just by being in this shape. I mean, there's so many things in life that just if we allow ourselves to commit to them, they will change how we experience ourselves. They will change how we experience another. And so how can we allow ourselves to remember that? Awesome sauce. Let's take one more breath here. Cool. Very gently, I'd like you to bring your hands underneath your shoulders. I'd like you to start to walk your feet towards each other. From there, as gracefully as you can, you're going to bend your knees and slide one foot back and then the other foot back and make your way to a child's pose. That makes no sense to you guys. Cool. So literally just from there, you could just bend one knee and put that down. If you want to turn and face the other direction, by all means do that, but you're going to make your way to child's pose. I know, it's funny because I don't practice with a mat. I'm like, you can just totally fold in from there. And then you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And I want you to make your child's pose however you need to be. So if you want your arms forward, your arms are forward. If you want your arms back, your arms are back. If your knees are together, they're together. If they're far apart, they're far apart. If you have a blanket on your lap, you've got a blanket on your lap. If your arms are kind of bent, you got that too. But you're letting yourself make this what it needs to be. One of the greatest gifts I think a teacher can give anybody is the ability to have permission to explore and do what they need to do for themselves. And I think we all get that. We like the teacher that encourages us to be ourselves. But how do we remember to do that for others? You know, like we modify our practice because we want to be more of ourselves. But how can we do that off the mat? We don't really care too much when somebody else is modifying a pose in their practice. So how can we allow ourselves to do that off the mat? All right, you got 2 more breath cycles here because my brain kind of wanders. And then as you're ready, we're going to go ahead and inhale. We're going to shift our weights forward to hands and knees. And then I want you to step your right foot back and tuck the toes under. And then the left foot back to tuck your toes under. Suddenly we find ourselves back in plank. And slower than you want to, saying maybe 20 seconds, lower all the way down to the mat. All the way down, all the way down. And you're breathing and you're softening. Yeah, good job, guys. You're breathing and you're softening and you're breathing and you're softening. Yeah, and you're breathing and you're softening. And then once you get all the way down, let's stack our hands on top of each other underneath our forehead for heads up, 7 up. Notice if you want your feet close together and the big toes touching and the heels spreading wide apart, or if you want your legs further apart with the heels turning towards the floor, the toes turning out. But you're going to just take 3 to 5 breaths here. And I want you to breathe into the abdomen. And as you're breathing into the abdomen, you're allowing the abdomen to press into the floor. And as you press the abdomen into the floor, you notice that the lower back lifts. And you're just noticing what this quality does to you, how this makes you feel. Just pausing and breathing and noticing what you notice. Awesome sauce. All right, you got 2 more breath cycles here. And then you'll just lift your head high enough to release your hands and bring your hands back behind you. Great. And so first thing, let's start by paralleling our legs if they're not. And I want you to press into the tips of the toenails, lift up through the kneecaps and lengthen the tailbone straight back. And then draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Yep. And just like we did with all that hugging of the shoulder blades earlier, I want you to imagine that you are Superman and Superwoman shooting through the air. So lift your head just a few millimeters away from the floor, maybe a little higher. Yeah. Notice how that changes the relationship between your neck and your back. Now I want you to keep lengthening your tailbone back, keep hugging the shoulder blades together, keep pressing your toes into the floor. And we've got about 10 breath cycles here. You can lift your chest as high away from the floor as you want, but we're trying to keep that length in your low back, the tailbone lengthening back, the feet pushing down. And you might find that you might want to hover the arms off the floor too, like Superman and Superwomen, but the shoulder blades are on the back, the heart is reaching forward, the tailbone's reaching back. Some of you might start to find that your legs naturally want to reach so far back that they float up and away from the floor. You might find that you can lift even more of the chest up and away from the floor, but we're finding that there's length in the back body, and that's what's lifting us up. There's this strength here, but there's also a softness that has to come to it. There's a fortitude as we deal with the sensations as the body starts to shake, and you just re-engage. And then at the end of your next exhale, you'll slowly lower all the way back down. And then you have the option to do whatever type of back bend you want on your belly. So some of you will do another Shalabhasana locust like what we just did. Some of you will choose to do Dhanurasana. Some of you will choose to do a Sphinx pose or a Cobra pose, but you're going to choose what works best for you. And you're going to stay there for 10 breath cycles. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you're going to remind yourself, what is this teaching you that you want to have the ability to remember when you leave your mat, when you leave your practice? What are you hoping to cultivate and strengthen? Awesome. When you're done, you lower down. Gently lower down. Yeah, nice job, guys. Okay, and you'll just take 3 breaths here. You might choose to go back to heads up, 7-up style Naprasana. You might just bring an ear to the mat, but you're just going to let yourself breathe and you're going to let yourself settle. And we're just building the skill set 1% each time. Cool. All right, we're going to make our way onto our backs. So go ahead and extend one of your arms forward. You'll roll to that side and continue to roll over like a sausage in a pan. And then you'll make your way onto your backs. And we'll just pause here for a moment. I want you to bend your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Actively flex through that foot. And just keeping your hands on the floor for a moment, draw your leg configuration to your chest. Push that right ankle against the top of the left thigh against the top of the right knee. And then you might thread your arms through the whole of your legs. You might pull the legs closer towards you. You might rock and roll a little right to left, but you're just paying attention. How does this feel? Where can you soften? Where can you lean into the sensation that you might be having a little bit more consciously, deliberately? Or might you fortify the strength that this pose might require? Awesome. When you feel complete on this side, you're going to come to stillness. If you're in movement, everyone will gently release whatever clasp that they've got. Release the left foot to the floor, the right foot next to meet the left. And then you'll pause. Just notice the difference. I heard something yesterday by Sarah Borealis. I really like her, or Bareilles. I think that's how you say her name. She was saying that, you know, in life, we never want to reach a plateau, and yet we always say, oh, I'll be happy when, you know? It's like, how can we remind ourselves that whatever tumultuous thing may or may not be going, that's keeping us out of that plateau? All right, let's go ahead and try the other side. So cross the left ankle on the top of the right thigh. Pause here for a moment, flex through that foot, and then draw that configuration to your chest without your hands. And then just see how that goes. And then whenever you're ready, you'll slide your hands through the whole of your legs, grab the back of the thigh, front of the shin. And then you'll notice, do you want to be still? Do you want to move a bit from right to left, rocking the pelvis? I thought it was very fascinating. I don't know why I'd never thought of that, but it's like, we don't want to plateau. We don't want to plateau in our careers and our relationships and our sense of growth and evolution as individual people, as spiritual beings, any of that stuff. We don't want to plateau. And yet, you know, we think, oh, wow, if only I can figure this out and everything gets good. But our practice reminds us that there's stuff that's always changing. Our body is changing. The way we want to practice changes. Our breath changes. The seasons change. So that impacts how our body wants to feel. All right, go ahead and come to stillness. When you're ready, release the hands, draw the left foot to the floor, draw the right foot to meet the left. This time I want you to widen the feet, wider than the hips, let the knees knock in. And then you might choose to bring a hand to the heart, hand to the belly, or just stack your hands on top of each other like that hug for Garudasana. Yep. And then just let the arms rest on the weight of the chest. And you're just going to take 3 breath cycles here. And again, we started with the question of what we wanted to cultivate. And so in this moment, trusting that we have been practicing that skill set through our last hour or so, I want you to ask yourself what it is you need at this moment to start to wrap up your practice. Some of you might choose to stay right where you are. Some of you might find that gentle windshield wipers of the knees would feel good, or happy baby, but you're going to give yourself time and permission to move at your own pace. I think that's one of those things that often we lose sight of. You know, I think in our practice, a lot of us know that we can take the time that we need. We can slow things down just a little bit, but how can we remind ourselves that we can do that off the mat when we need to? Or conversely, if we know that we're like a little bit more speedy in general, how we can let that be an okay guide as well. And so you've got about 2 minutes to do whatever the heck feels of service to your body, to your being at this moment in time. So I do encourage you to make use of that time in whatever way feels good to you. And then when you feel complete, make your way to whatever your final resting pose will be. Nice. Then we're going to try to just fall into our practice. And a lot of my teachers have said that Shavasana is always the hardest practice in our asana arsenal. And I think it's supposed to be that because it's supposed to allow us the opportunity to have the strength and the fortitude to really learn how to soften, to really learn how to let go. And so what I'd like you to do is I want you to start by doing a body scan. And some of you will feel better starting from the crown of your head and working your way down, telling yourself, relax, soften, ease. Some of you will feel better working in a way that just observes what is and just allowing it to be there. But in either case, you're going to start from the crown of your head and you're going to slowly work down through your body, either noticing what's present there or inviting yourself to melt, to yield, to fall into the support of gravity. And you take your time, really sensing into as much of your body, as much of your being as you are able to as you make this journey. And again, you're following your own pace. So some of you are still maybe around your neck. Some of you might have already reached your feet, but you're working at your pace. And when you finally find yourself at the tips of the toes and the soles of the feet, you'll just allow your awareness to come back to your breath. And with every exhale, you see if you can just soften a little bit more. With every inhale, you allow the breath to enter at whatever pace it comes. And you'll just continue like this on your own for a few more moments. And when it's time to come out, I'll let you know. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. Really just notice what you notice. If there's any part of you longing to linger here, by all means, stay here as long as you'd like. When movement or life are calling you, you'll start to invite small movement into your physical form in whatever way feels good to you. You might choose to start to make your way to one of your sides, and if you do, just pause there for a few breath cycles before you try to sit up. From your side, you'll roll a little bit more towards the floor, press your top hand into the floor to release the bottom hand, and then draw your spine up to vertical. And when you are vertical, you'll just take an opportunity to sit tall and to sit well, whether it's on a block or a blanket. And then just as we started, I want you to take a few moments to just fidget around until you feel like you are in a place where you can sit comfortably, where you feel that strength of your back lifting up, where you feel the softness of the musculature that's not needed to support this pose, where you feel the fortitude of the breath. And so you might need to take a few audible exhales out of the mouth in order to find your breath again. So with the gaze still inward or the eyes closed, you'll just focus on the breath for a few moments, allowing yourself to receive it fully when it comes, and allow yourself to get out of its way when it's ready to go. No matter what we may experience in life, I think if we can just remember the simpleness of receiving what comes and getting out of its way when it's ready to go, it will give us the strength to know what things we need to actually apply ourselves in. It will give us the fortitude to know how to do that when the time comes. And it'll give us the ability to softly, lightly let go of things when it's ready to let go of them. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Draw your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum, and then lift your heart towards your hands. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light within me honors and salutes the light within each of you. Namaste.